The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Welcome to the bonus show. Let's start with a story about elephants. I love elephants. I don't know about you, Pat. Are you a fan?
Top 3 favorite animals, I would say.
Really?
They're up there, yes.
With what, squirrels and rodents? Or
Squirrels and, well, rabbits, which aren't rodents.
Rabbits are not rodents, as we found out a
Yes.
few months ago, yeah. So let's talk about Donald Trump and elephants. You might remember that a little while ago, there was this viral picture of Donald Trump Jr., who had killed an elephant. He went on some kind of, they do these things where you can pay to kill an elephant. It's like for conservation, where you can hunt one, but then the money goes to conservation for other elephants, I guess. The
Seems so messed up to
the
me.
ones that are lucky enough not to get killed. And then we heard that there would be a rollback on killing elephants, that Donald Trump's administration was going to remove some rules that prevented poaching and other types of hunting against elephants. And people went crazy. A lot of people went crazy saying, no, come on, you can't do this. And Donald Trump did make the announcement on Twitter, no less, that he is going to put the game trophy decision on hold until he reviews more information about conservation. And it seems that there were even a lot of right-wingers who were trying to pass up the chain that Trump shouldn't do this, like Greta Van Susteren.
Yeah.
I guess she's a right-winger. I don't know. Longtime Fox News host. And a couple of others who said, listen, we really don't need to do this. This leads to poaching. It's a really, really bad thing. Elephants being killed for their tusks. It's not even... You could make a different argument if they're being killed for subsistence, but they're being killed for their tusks, which are then sold, and it'll reinvigorate the ivory trade, etc. So, hey, I've been upfront from the beginning, Pat. If Donald Trump makes a decision I agree with, then I will say I agree with that decision. I agree with this decision. We don't want to start making it easier to poach elephants, elephant ivory. And this was the right decision. I hope he sticks with it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it should have been a conversation to begin with, because Obama-era regulations had this over and done with, and then it seemed like there was a reopening that didn't need to happen.
And we've seen a couple reopenings, like the entire thing where now you can go after bears during hibernation season.
Yes.
And it's not literally you can go and kill hibernating bears, but it's during the hibernation season as established. If you see a bear, you can still kill it. But could it be interpreted as you can go into a bear den and kill them even though they're hibernating? Not totally clear. Anyway, the point is, this has happened with a number of animals under the Trump administration.
It's not like Trump feels so passionately about it, right? One way or the other.
I don't know.
Or Trump supporters going to the voting booths feel that way.
He has been opposed to this for a while. Like there's stuff from 2012 where he was also against hunting elephants. Just because his position hasn't changed doesn't mean it's a really important issue to him.
Well, here's the problem. I mean, he's saying that it's kind of under review for him.
Yeah.
What's coming up this week? Thanksgiving, and who's going to be at that table with him? Don Jr. and Eric. So maybe they'll convince him otherwise.
Yes, because he does seem to go with whatever someone says 5 minutes ago. I thought you were going to say that they're going to pardon a turkey at the White House, so that maybe that will further incite him to be good to the animals or something like that. I don't know. I'm not really sure. Okay. When we did our ancestry.com DNA tests, what was it? 6 months ago at this point?
Yeah,
I think so. It's been a while. Pat and I did our test. We had a DNA expert come on the show, analyze our DNA. He determined I was the most Jewish person ethnically whose DNA he had ever reviewed, and we had a grand old time. But people did write in saying, David, you should be careful, because when you do that, you're handing over control of your DNA to those companies. And at the time, I said, I don't really care about that. I'm interested in my DNA test. We have now learned, because of an investigation done by ABC's WJAX affiliate, that companies like 23andMe and Ancestry.com generally say they would be willing to give police access to your DNA if they had it, if the police came with a warrant. So it is true that if you have done one of these DNA tests and Ancestry.com has it, and I guess the police could just send a warrant and find out that way whether Ancestry has your DNA or not. By and large, the companies are saying if we are presented with a warrant, we would turn over the DNA.
Interesting, yeah.
Does that bother you?
Not really. I mean, mainly because I haven't committed any crimes as of late.
That's a bad argument, though. We always hear, well, hey, I don't have to worry about surveillance because I'm not doing anything illegal. And it's generally speaking not a good argument.
Yeah, I just wonder if you made a Venn diagram of people who are committing violent crimes that, you'd have to find DNA at the scene for.
And people who are signing up for Ancestry.
Trying to find out their heritage. I don't know if there would be a lot of crossover there.
Maybe not. Maybe, I mean, that's true, but that's more of a practical consideration. So then the questions are, well, in what ways might police want to do this? Yes, one is the obvious one. DNA has been taken from a crime scene, and the police want to see, they have a suspect. They can't find the suspect, maybe, and they want to get DNA to see if it's a match. But again, if you already know who the suspect is, usually police are able to find them, and then you test their DNA. So it's not even that likely of a scenario.
I wonder if this would be routine for them if they don't know who the suspects could be, if it's a fugitive at large, and they would go directly to Ancestry DNA and all these companies.
That's the other part, which is there's a big difference between saying, we suspect John Doe of having committed this crime. Ancestry. Do you have John Doe's DNA? You do. Here's a warrant for it. Let's check. That's one thing. It would be very different to go to Ancestry and say, hey, here's DNA from a crime scene. Run it against all DNA samples of everybody who has ever gotten a DNA test. That's a very different thing. Excuse me, I just punched the mic, getting very agitated. And that's not, you would need, that wouldn't be okay with an individual warrant. That's called going fishing, right? And that would not be allowed based on my reading of this.
It's interesting. When I was in first grade, they took everyone in the class's fingerprints and kept them on file.
Sure.
And it was just marketed as this fun thing we could do in comparing fingerprints with each other. And if we ever got lost within the school, they would know how to find us somehow. I don't understand how that works.
Yeah.
But then, you come to think of it, it's like, well, if you commit some crime 20 years later when you're an adult, they have your fingerprints from when you were 6 years old,
Now, I know that key markers of your fingerprints don't change as you age, but isn't the fingerprint of a 40-year-old very different than that of the same kid at 5 years old? Like, don't they change shape over time? I don't know.
Good question. I know they're not as one of a kind as we once thought they were.
Yeah.
There's like a maybe 1 in a million match rate kind of thing.
Right. Interesting.
Interesting.
So 1 in a million match, that means that 1,300 people in China have the same fingerprints. Is that what that means?
My numbers are right.
You've got 1.3 billion people. I don't know if my numbers are right. Okay. So listen, the Jenga thing, and you might notice when we switch to our other camera that the Jenga tower has been reconstructed in sort of starting position, I guess is what we would call it, and it's sitting just out of reach from me on the desk. The Jenga tower stunt was really successful because it number one, got a bunch of people to sign up as patrons. And then when we generated the coupon code Jenga58 from the falling of the tower, a couple dozen people signed up for membership. So it was really, really successful. So we want to do the next thing. But I think it's kind of at this point, we shouldn't do Jenga again right away. Because more than likely, we moved 29 pieces. I could probably move 27, 28, 29, or 30. Like, it's not...
That was probably the limit.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing was... There was like one piece on the ground, one piece like on the next level, and the next level. It was structurally not very sound. My
Jenga skills are relatively stable, and so I just don't think that we're going to get a drastically different result. So I feel like it'll just get boring. Like every time it falls, we do a 58% discount code. I don't know. I don't really like it. So people have been throwing around a couple different ideas. One was just that I shave my head when we get to 3,000 or 5,000 patrons. Listen, we can talk about that. It would have to be more than 3,000 patrons, that I can assure you. But that has nothing to do with gamifying something, okay? No. There was the idea of tic-tac-toe, chess, or checkers, where you and I play against each other, and each time we make a move. But I don't really see the game in that. And also, tic-tac-toe would be over in one day.
What about Connect 4?
Connect 4. I just don't get why there's no interesting thing in terms of connecting it to a membership discount. I just don't see how we would do it.
Well, we could do the thing where, like, if you win, there's a certain discount, right? And then if I win, there's maybe a higher discount.
But how is that connected to Patreon contributions?
For every Patreon contributor, we play one piece.
Yeah, it's just the games are so short. That's the problem, So I don't know. I'm open to ideas. Did you have any epiphanies over the weekend?
Not over the weekend, but I had talked to you about the game Don't Wake Daddy.
Oh, yeah.
Which centers around some mechanical device where you press an alarm clock, and at any point, it's kind of like Russian roulette in this sense, the daddy could spring out of bed and create chaos.
That reminds me of, you remember that game where I think it was called Operation?
Yes.
Where you would try to like do surgeries or something, and then if you touch certain things, you would lose the game.
Right.
The thing would buzz.
But that's dependent on hitting the edges.
Yeah.
Whereas this is
This
just
is random.
completely chance. Now, I don't know how many moves you could go up to. Like, I don't know if it could be like up to 40 times hitting the alarm clock without the thing going up.
Yeah.
Or if it's just 5. But there could be something there.
I don't know about that. I'm not
Okay.
too sure about that one. Here's another idea. Here's another idea. We could take the Jenga pieces, and I'll just take a few, and I can show you what I'm doing here. We could do something else, which is we start for each Patreon contribution or each 2, we start building a plus sign shaped tower, and then we see the number that I'm able to get up to, right? So this would be, it wouldn't be actually playing it as Jenga. It would be just counting off and seeing how high we could go. And here it's actually possible that we could get pretty high up. I mean, I'm just putting them together here, not very carefully.
No.
And they're starting to build up. That's a possibility.
It could be off camera eventually, too.
It could be so high up that it goes off camera. Maybe I should run a test off the show to see how that could go. That's one possibility. The other one that I had, as I knock over my mini Jenga tower, the other possibility that someone suggested is we take some kind of container and put it right on. It could be a bowl, or it's got to be transparent, right? And then we figure out some item, and it could be, I don't even know what it would be, baseballs, tennis balls, whatever. And for each Patreon contribution or each couple, we start dropping a ball in. And basically, the thing would be, at what point does it overflow and you can't add any more and it starts rolling over, like if it's tennis balls or whatever. And that would be the number that creates a membership discount or something like that.
It's okay. It's just not as exciting. I mean, when the Jenga tower falls over, it's a big calamity.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just hit the limit of tennis balls in a bowl, maybe 2 or 3 will fall out.
Right. A tennis ball rolling on the floor isn't as exciting as the Jenga tower collapse.
I definitely believe there are ideas out there, and the audience has them.
You just think I don't have them?
No.
Not yet. Okay, good. Okay, anyway, these are some thoughts. Let's please let me know what you think would be interesting, and we'll put it together maybe for starting after Thanksgiving. And just a reminder, shortened week this week. We've got today, tomorrow. Wednesday will be like a Friday show, and then we'll be off for the rest of the week for Thanksgiving, and then back to it next Monday.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.